What does it feel like to be cast out by the only family you thought you had, left to wander with nothing but a suitcase and a shattered heart? For Emily Carter, this question wasn't hypothetical, it was her reality, etched into the cold November evening when her in-laws' words cut deeper than the wind. "You're jobless. We don't need you," they had screamed, their voices echoing in the pristine living room of the house she'd once called home. Her sister-in-law, Claire, stood smugly in the corner, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against a wine glass, as if Emily's eviction was a minor inconvenience to her evening. Emily's husband, Mark, had stood silent, his eyes fixed on the floor, unwilling or unable to defend her. That moment marked the end of her marriage, her security, and the life she'd painstakingly built. But it was also the beginning of something else, something she never expected. Emily had married Mark 3 years ago, believing in a future filled with love and stability. She was a graphic designer, freelancing for small businesses, her work vibrant and full of heart. Mark, an accountant, had been her anchor, or so she thought. They lived with his parents, Susan and Richard, in their sprawling suburban home, a temporary arrangement, they'd said, until the couple could afford their own place. Emily poured her soul into her work, often staying up late to perfect designs, her dreams fueled by the promise of independence. But the economy had other plans. Clients dwindled, projects dried up, and soon Emily was jobless, her confidence eroding with each rejection email. She tried to stay positive, cooking dinners for the family, helping with chores, hoping her efforts would prove her worth. Yet, Susan's passive-aggressive comments about carrying her weight grew sharper, and Richard's sighs whenever she entered a room became louder. Claire's arrival changed everything. Mark's younger sister, fresh from a flashy corporate job in New York, returned home with an air of superiority. She was the golden child, her success a stark contrast to Emily's struggles. Claire needed a place to stay while she transitioned to a new role, and the in-laws didn't hesitate. "We need the guest room," Susan declared one evening, her tone final. "Claire's contributing." "You're not." Emily's heart sank. She looked to Mark, expecting him to protest, but he only muttered, "It's just temporary." Temporary became permanent that night when they told her to leave. Her belongings were already packed, her suitcase by the door, as if her departure had been planned long before the conversation. Betrayed by her husband and discarded by his family, Emily stepped into the night, the door slamming shut behind her. The city was unforgiving. Emily found a cheap motel room, her savings barely enough to cover a week. She sat on the lumpy bed, staring at her portfolio, the designs she'd once been so proud of now feeling like relics of a lost life. The weight of rejection pressed against her chest, her in-laws' words, Mark's silence, the world's indifference. She wondered if she was as worthless as they'd made her feel. But then, a flicker of defiance sparked within her. She wasn't done yet. She couldn't be. With her laptop's dying battery, she scoured job boards, sent applications, and reached out to old contacts, her fingers trembling with a mix of fear and resolve. Days blurred into weeks. Emily took odd jobs, waitressing, dog walking, anything to keep her afloat. The motel became a shared apartment with a kind but eccentric roommate, Mia, a street artist who painted murals on abandoned buildings. Mia was the twist Emily hadn't seen coming. With her wild curls and paint-splattered overalls, Mia saw beauty in broken things, including Emily. One night, as they shared cheap wine on their tiny balcony, Mia handed Emily a flyer for a local art collective looking for designers. "You're not jobless," Mia said, her voice firm. "You're just between chapters." Those words hit Emily like a lifeline. Mia's belief in her, so freely given, cracked open the walls she'd built around her heart. Emily threw herself into the collective's application, pouring her pain and hope into a new portfolio. She designed a series inspired by her eviction bold, raw illustrations of fractured homes and resilient spirits. The collective loved it. They offered her a freelance gig, then a part-time role, and soon she was leading workshops, teaching others to channel their struggles into art. For the first time in months, Emily felt seen, not as a failure, but as a creator with something to say. Her work gained traction, shared on social media, catching the eye of a gallery owner who offered her a solo exhibition. The girl who'd been kicked out with a suitcase was now building a name for herself, one design at a time. But the past wasn't done with her. One evening, as Emily prepared for her exhibition, Mark showed up at the gallery. He looked different, thinner, tired, his eyes carrying a guilt she hadn't seen before. Claire's transition had been a lie. She'd been fired from her job and was now living off their parents' generosity, the very thing they'd accused Emily of doing. Mark apologized, his voice breaking, saying he'd been wrong to stay silent, wrong to let her go. He wanted her back. Emily stood there, her heart racing, not with love, but with clarity. She didn't need his validation anymore. She didn't need their home. She'd built her own. The exhibition night was a triumph. Emily's designs filled the gallery, each piece a testament to her journey, grief, anger, and ultimately, hope. Mia was there, cheering loudly, her muralist friends filling the room with color and laughter. Strangers approached Emily, moved by her work, asking about her story. She told them, not with shame, but with pride. She'd been jobless, unwanted, kicked out to make room for someone deemed more worthy. But she'd found her worth in herself, in the art she created, in the community she'd built. As the night wound down, Emily stepped outside, the city lights stretching before her. She thought of her in-laws' words, once a wound, now just a memory. They tried to define her, to reduce her to nothing. But she was more than their rejection, more than her failures. She was Emily Carter, a woman who'd turned pain into purpose, who'd found a home not in a house, but in her own strength. The story doesn't end with a fairy tale reconciliation or a dramatic confrontation. It ends with Emily walking back into the gallery, her heart full, knowing she didn't need anyone's permission to be enough. Her journey was a reminder that worth isn't given by others, it's claimed, fought for, and built from within. And in that truth, she found freedom.